Hi, my name is Brandon. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. When I was a child, I had some problems like focusing in school. In the subjects that I was really interested in, I could focus in, I could hone in, and I could master those classes. But with the classes that I wasn't really interested in, I did not. I tended to exhibit a lot of restlessness sitting through class and becoming very fidgety, and it was very hard. And I also had a lot of problems with my social skills as a child. I tended to like blurt out a lot of things without thinking it through and thinking how it might affect like the other person. Things just tended to come out of my mouth with no reason or thought. And when people would get upset at me, when other kids would get upset at me and challenge me on things, I became very reactionary, totally lost my ability to think with any reason or thought, was totally driven off of emotion, and as a result I lost a lot of friends, and had a very hard time keeping a lot of friends, and the friends that I did have generally tended not to last very long. As I became an adult, these problems continued to persist in terms of I was extremely successful at the things that I enjoyed. I really enjoyed college. I was very good at it. At times when I really was into my work, I was very successful at it. But what ultimately happened is the same types of things occurred where if I had no interest in doing it, such as like household chores or taking care of the things that I needed to, it was extremely difficult to come up with like the motivation or the interest to be able to be successful at anything other than what I was interested in. I also had lots of problems with my relationships that I had as an adult. I had a very hard time like shifting gears, so to say. So I would get like zeroed in on a pure emotional level. If I got in an argument with a girlfriend or with a friend or a brother or a sister, that emotion tended to drive completely how my day went. I was never able to like step back and evaluate things. I almost always had to like sleep on it. And when I would wake up in the morning, I would realize just how ridiculous I had been, and I would spend hours and days going over what happened and how it happened and what I did wrong and what I'm going to do the next time that this comes up so that I won't repeat the same mistakes. Well, unfortunately what would happen is when those situations would arise again, no matter how much planning and how much mental thought and that I put into it, I became totally emotionally based again, where my environment was affecting how I responded to people. So when I would get in arguments with people, even if I had planned never to act that way again, it just happened, and I couldn't figure out why it happened that way. And the other problem I had a lot of the time was one of the core issues with that is that I could never really feel like compassion for other people. I could never put myself in like their shoes. I mean, I always looked at things as like, why do they feel that way about me? They should feel this way about me, instead of me putting myself in their shoes and saying, well, now I understand why they feel the way that they do about me. And so ultimately this cycle of always treating people like this ended up causing a lot of depression. And what I ended up doing is resorting to alcohol to make myself comfortable with the way that things were. And over the course of time became a full-blown alcoholic. And at one point I finally realized that my life was out of control. I couldn't understand why I was doing the things that I was doing. No matter how much I intended to do something, it never seemed to happen that way. And I eventually sought out the help of a therapist. through the therapy sessions, I ended up getting diagnosed with hyperfocus attention deficit disorder. At first, I was extremely reluctant to accept that that was what was wrong with me, that all along, that all of my problems could be explained through what I had perceived to be a relatively new diagnosis that the medical field had come up with. But I ultimately realized that as messed up as things had become in my life, I had to be willing to accept that this was possible. And so I was prescribed Adderall, and I was given the extended release 20 milligrams to take twice a day. Well, right away I noticed after taking the Adderall that it had a tremendous effect on allowing me to begin to feel compassion for other people. It began to allow me to focus in on the things that I enjoyed as well as the things that I didn't enjoy, and my life began to take a dramatic turn, and I began to feel like a completely new person. The downfall of Adderall, what ended up happening is it gave me a very ramped up feeling in my system, in terms of, I likened it, I used to take Stacker 2, which contained ephedra, and when I took Adderall, it almost had like the same type of effect, or the effect of drinking a full pot of coffee within an hour's time, where I just felt completely on edge and ready to go all the time. And as a result of that, I was not getting the kind of sleep that a normal person should be getting, because I couldn't get tired. I was always awake, I was always on the move. And the other problem that Adderall caused was that I did not feel hungry, like almost all the time. When I was eating, it wasn't because my system was telling me I was hungry. I was eating just because I knew I needed to eat at some point. And so I kind of explained like a lot of these side effects that I was having with Adderall, and it was suggested to me to try a natural supplement known as AddCare, ADD-care. And when I took that, I had all of the positive benefits that I was getting from Adderall in terms of being able to focus, in terms of being able to be relaxed, in terms of being able to stay on target and feel compassion for other people, and all the things that that Adderall had solved for me, the AddCare was solving as well. But I did not get any kind of ramped up feeling or on edge. It allowed me to sleep normally. It allowed my body to tell me when I was hungry, and I would highly recommend it for anyone who's on Adderall, who doesn't like the physical feeling that it gives you, to check it out. And it is the website for it is www.add-care.com, and I'm not an employee or affiliated with the company in any way, but I definitely think you should check it out.